My good old usual spot on the Dayton District, 162 at the Conrail Tri-Lights. It is the Monday before Thanksgiving, and we're here on this day to catch a meet between counterparts 170 and 171. 170 is seen here heading east with an interesting lash-up of an SD70 Ace, an AC44C6M, an ES44AC, and an SD70 Ace. On this particular day, instead of coming out the south end and using CSX to run up to LM Cabin, 171 had to come out the north end of Watkins after turning his power and head out the western branch to LM. Apparently, CSX had some kind of issue and they couldn't take them today, so 170 had to do the same thing as well. On 170 were brand new Norfolk Southern AOK gondolas, some pipes, coal cars, box cars, covered hoppers, auto racks, and many more.
Line 60 shows to be an ATW 11077. Line 61 shows to be a F-Box FBOX 502 515. And the last one is line 93. It's an NS210 596 of them. Yeah, I'm sure we'll try to go on all three cars. Yeah, it's for changes.
Sorry, repeat inspection line 60, 61, and 93, including the engine.
Hey, I'm flexible. I can go either way.
I heard that about you.
A few minutes after 170, 171 comes out of the siding heading west on his way to go work Sharonville. Leading 171 is a Dash 944CW and an ES44AC. 171 is only 67 cars on this day, so he shouldn't have to worry about air issues or any kind of train issues for that matter. Next, we're on a spot called Kearney on the I&O's back door into the Springfield yard. Looking to the right, you can see the coal tower and water tower for the DT&I. There used to be a diamond here, but no more. The eastbound we're here for is NS 178. Only 80 cars with 2 BNSFs up front, a UP up front third, and a BNSF mid-train, just 25 cars back. The real reason I should say, as to why the DPU is about 25 cars in on such a short train is a little bit of a mystery to some rail fans. Still a bit of a mystery to me. Kind of makes me wonder why NS does what it does. Interesting at times, but it can be maddening at others. The next day, on my way to go play in a flag football game, I was stopped at New Love Road to catch NS 170, who was a very good size today. Leading the way was NS 4215, a rebuilt AC44C6M, followed by another NS AC44C6M, number 4469, and NS 1643, an SD40-2, which was an XNNW paint at one time. Brooks is only an 80-car siding on the Dayton District and is the shortest out here. It's one of the shortest sidings I've ever seen. It can only hold up to 80 cars. Decent-sized trains or trains shorter than that can stop in the siding. but they'd have to cut the crossings if they had to tie down and can only stop on it for about 5 minutes. That family line system covered hopper was a welcome sight to me. We don't usually get those down here on the Dayton District. And for that matter, we don't really get a lot of fallen flag cars over here either. Those are mostly over on the CSX, so it was a nice surprise. On Thanksgiving Day, I observed 170 heading east through Plattsburgh, near the Plattsburgh War Cemetery. I had some time before family and friends came over, so I snuck out for a little bit and got this guy going through the cut. Led by an ET44AC and a Horsehead -9 44CW, 170 was well over 140 cars today. Going uphill is a challenge out east of Springfield. There's a near 1% grade out by 178 near Route 41 that this train has to climb over, and even more as you go east. But once you get past Plattsburgh, it starts going downhill and becomes a little bit much of an easier ride into London. Once again, just like yesterday on 170, another family line system covered hopper. Pretty cool, two in back-to-back days. Bottoms for auto racks are on this train too. These will likely get the rest of them put on them probably sometime here soon, or those are heading to storage. I never really figured out what exactly they were doing.
Norfolk Southern, milepost 172.4, no defects.
Next morning, for some reason, I was out really early the day after Thanksgiving to catch 55R with a single UP Gevo leading. He was going into London siding originally to meet 239 there, but 239 developed issues around 144. 55R would go and tie his train down around 142 in Columbus, detach from his train, shove 239 up to 150, then detach from him and go back to his train. It was a long night for 239 with just one engine and going uphill most of his way. Later that same night on Friday, I was down here at South Main Street at milepost 163. The signal down there is a red over yellow over green, telling eastbound 178 to move through the siding and keep it at medium speed as he approaches 160 to enter back on the main. 178 tonight is led on the head end by an AC 44C6M and a thoroughbred -9 44CW. .178 is meeting 179, who's sitting on the main line down at Maple Street. And that, my friends, is a Grand Trunk boxcar. Very rare coming out of the south. 178 is eastbound traffic out of Irondale, Alabama to Bellevue, Ohio. He has work stops in Georgetown, Guest Street, Middletown, and then continues on without no more work. He can usually be a really big train sometimes, and today was no exception. Mid-train was another NS AC 44C6M, though looking a little cleaner than the other one. .178 in total was probably about 130 cars. The DPU was kind of in the middle, closer to the end. He has a medium clear down at 160, the east end of the siding, so he's free to keep moving without meeting anybody else. Coming up from Main Street after 178 cleared was NS-179, led by two rebuilt AC-44C6Ms. With PSR and NS's rebuilding program still going strong here late into 2022, you're going to be seeing a lot more AC-44C6Ms in black and white, and for a matter of fact, everywhere else. They are pretty interesting when you think about it. Not appealing to some rail fans, but I don't mind these guys. NS has a special place in my heart, even though sometimes I don't know what they're doing. And there's my friend Rex Woods, who wanted to get into the camera. I like getting people in the camera because I get to see their faces and how they enjoy rail fanning. It really warms my heart. On the rear of 179 was an ACC 45 CTE, really an ES 44AC to the common rail fan, but UP letters their locomotives very differently than Norfolk Southern. The next day, I decided to drive out towards Plattsburgh. Here on a calm, sunny morning, you get a view of the Norfolk Southern Dayton District along Old Springfield Road. Actually, I think this was Plattsburgh. At Stewart Road, near Plattsburgh, was the remnants of 179's derailment a couple months ago. R.J. Corman or NS never got it cleaned up, making me wonder if they're just going to leave it there for a while. The old war cemetery in Plattsburgh, where I usually rail fan out on the hill, looks beautiful this morning as the sun pokes through. Looking west towards Springfield, we see the signals at 172 on idles, telling us that no train is anywhere near us. Eventually later, down at the NYC PRR interlocking that is now 162 on the Dayton District, we see 178 swinging off of the NYC and onto the PRR. At least that's what it would be considered in the old days. 4488 leads this train solo. I don't know why the ditch lights on the rear of the locomotive were flashing. Pretty odd. 178 had a nice cut of cars, some of them coal hoppers and some coal scrap hoppers, carrying cross ties and scrap, and some gondolas, covered hoppers, tanks, boxcars, and some auto racks. At midpoint of the train was NS 1101, an EMD SD70 ACE. The SD70 Aces and all other EMDs are personally my favorite. Down there you can see the light of 179 as he's getting ready to blast off when 178 clears. 179 was a special train tonight as he had two Union Pacific SD70AHs on the head end. Me and Rex Woods moved back around the South Main Street to catch 179 leaving. This is the sound out of all the locomotives that I love to hear, an EMD in notch 8 going uphill. It is unusual on the line like the Dayton District to see two EMD leaders, let alone them being SD70 Aces and in foreign power colors. Midpoint in the train was another Union Pacific, but this one an ACC 45 CTE, number 2546, also in notch 8, pushing and pulling his part of 179 up the hill out of London to make it past Myers. The next morning, on Sunday after Thanksgiving, I was down at 162 at Walnut Avenue. Looking west, you can see the PRR line and the PRR station off to the right. The signal caught my attention. A red over yellow over red means approach diverging, which means move through sidings, turnouts, or switches at medium speed, then be prepared to stop at the next signal. Medium speed into and out of the siding is 25 miles an hour. Looking back east, you can see where the former New York Central line on that bike trail in the foreground used to run, and used to cross at the PRR right there in between these signals. The eastbound was NS 178, led by two rebuilt AC 44 C6Ms, the leader being really shiny today after it had just rained. .178 was only about 75 to 80 cars a day, plenty of room to fit in a London siding. A surprise today was the mid-train DPU, NS 1068, painted in the Erie Heritage Unit paint scheme. This was a nice catch on a Sunday morning. .178 was going into the siding to wait for westbound 179 to go by. I figured I'd shot enough at 162, so I decided a weird and new spot just on the west side of town. Oak Creek Run near South Main Street, actually right next to it, goes under the NS main line at milepost 163. I got down here, and in a few minutes, up came 179 with a P5A horn on the leader. .179 was only running about 30 miles an hour. Apparently, the train had developed an issue with his EOT on the rear DPU of the train, so he could only run 30 miles an hour up to Plattsburgh. Apparently, we've come to find out he also had an issue with an axle. Bringing up the rear was another ES44 DC in full notch 8 throttle to help push up the hill. The Monday after Thanksgiving, I decided to add this clip in because it was a pretty interesting day. Down on the left is Raymond Castle, and coming up the middle was NS 178 with a Union Pacific AC 44 and NS-944 CW leading the way. Now, normally, eastbounds you would hear going in full voice up the hill, but not today. 178 is only 65 cars long. The second unit was on idle or just not running. So that explains why you see him running very quietly through town. On the bottom of the train caught my attention a rare Canadian Pacific red gondola and a couple loaded CNW coal hoppers, probably loaded with coke, and UP 5981 and AC 44CW CTE pushing on the rear. Later that same day, I was at an unusual crossing at Old Springfield Road, just outside of South Charleston. I had gotten a tip from Raymond Castle that there was a CSX grain train that had come out of Mechanicsburg and was heading back to Washington Courthouse for interchange back to CSX. Now, no CSX crew was on this. It was an I&O crew that took it up to Mechanicsburg about a day or two before, and now they were on their way bringing it back to CSX so CSX could take it on into Parsons Yard in Columbus. Most of the ET-44 ACs generally have K5HL horns, but this one has some kind of Nathan horn back to the Dash 8 series era. Followed the grain train on into South Charleston and decided to take a look at something I never knew was here. We're along the ex-PRR main line near Sunrise Co-op and the grain elevator just north of it. An old South Charleston Veterans Memorial stands here. I never knew this was here, depicting all the names of the people who have died in war in bricks along the memorial. The grain facility had one of their old locomotives doing some work with NS covered hoppers. This is, after I did some research, turned out to be an ex-Northern Pacific GP9 doing work, but with a very nice horn too. It's crazy to think that old power like this in the modern day is still thriving and serving new use. I hope you guys enjoyed this video I put together of Thanksgiving Railfanning 2022. Hit the like button down there, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be notified when I hit a new video. And I'll see you guys later. On the ex-PRR in South Charleston, this is Yonk's Locomotive Works 8098, signing off.